Part 32. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 312. 309 Miss Reporter. All I saw was the entrance of the gymnasium, which was supposed to be a magnificent gate with the name of the gymnasium posted, but it had been replaced by a heavy mechanical gate. This gate is made up of several iron plates and is controlled by two high-power hydraulically driven devices. Just looking at the iron gate, it is estimated that it cannot be attacked without a few cannons. In this apocalyptic world where there are few rocket launchers, it can be said to be a very safe place. But now it seems that because it is just dawn, the gate has not been opened, but there are already more than 10 residents waiting at the gate, waiting for the gate to open. Do you still have to line up? Okay. Chen Yuyan didn't care. He just felt the safety here for a while, and then took Yi to the back of the line to line up. However, Knight just stood there, wailing in pain. This is my favorite course. The Red Ocean, cheers. Why is it like this now? It's all like this. What do you want them to cheer for? Cheering for the destruction of the world? Or cheering for the invasion of looters? Come on. Line up properly. Don't cause trouble, we are here to investigate. Chen Yuyan pulled him over together Q. Knight was still a little distracted, and he kept mumbling. Hey. Xiaolan, are you new here? Suddenly a hearty female voice came, and then a hand was placed on Nat's shoulder. Chen Yuyan looked for the reputation, but saw a young woman in a red leather jacket and a worn-out peaked cap walking over very familiarly. Based on Chen Yuyan's aesthetics, he felt that this woman was actually very ordinary looking, with a big mouth, prominent cheekbones, obvious cheek lines, and some freckles on both sides of the tip of the nose. However, Knight was obviously taken aback when he saw her. After a long time, he asked in a daze, "Who are you? Why do you call me Xiaolan?" The woman looked him up and down, and now Knight was still wearing the tight blue uniform of the refuge, but some armor was put on outside. I have to say that the quality of the shelter's uniforms is really good, tough, and wear-resistant, and easy to move around. It's just that Knight's buttocks are very raised in this suit. Her eyes deliberately stayed on Nat's buttocks, the provocative meaning was very obvious, and then she said jokingly, "You tell me where you are not blue? Say. You came out of the shelter? You, how do you know?" Knight didn't seem to be very good at dealing with women, and he was obviously at a loss in front of this man. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be. He already has a wife and children. He is obviously someone from the past, so why does he behave like a place? Chen Yuyan didn't speak, but just looked at him with great interest. "Hi, please. The shelter uniform on your body, the brand new beep boy on your wrist, and the expression on your face like a fish just out of the water, every place is telling me your origin, okay?" The woman said. Having said that, his gaze was still on Knight's hip. "Okay, before you eat him, can you tell me your name first?" Chen Yuyan asked with a smile. "My name is PYP, PYP right, a reporter." The woman replied. She stretched out her hand and nodded in the direction of the three of them, and said slightly frivolously, "What about the sanctuary trio? This group is really good. It's rare. You must know that the skin of the residents of the federal wasteland is not as tender as yours. Okay, Miss Piper, what do you want us to do?" Chen Yuyan asked. At this time, Piper stared at Yi for a while, whistled and said, "Wow. I have only seen such a beautiful woman in magazines before the war. Oh no, even women in magazines not as pretty as you. Can I take a picture of you?" "No," Yi replied coldly. Pip met her gaze and shuddered immediately. His professional intuition immediately told her that Yi was definitely not someone to mess with. That's right, with Yi's appearance, if he was easy to provoke, he would never be able to survive until now in this lawless wasteland. But she was also extremely tactful, and immediately turned to Chen Yuyan and said, "You guys just came, maybe you lack a guide, right? How about we go together? Okay. Before Chunyuan could speak, Knight agreed first. Haha. Thank you, Xiaolan. Pip leaned on Nat's shoulder very affectionately, and Chunyuan blushed when he saw Nat's face. He sighed softly, rubbed his forehead and said, "You put us on it because you couldn't get in, right? Miss Reporter?" Pip's face changed slightly, but he adjusted immediately, and said with a smile on his face, "Don't pay attention to these details, right? Handsome guy. Look, you already have such a beautiful girlfriend by your side, this one over here Mr. Xiaolan can only be a light bulb the whole time, isn't that bad? Do whatever you want, just don't cause trouble." The expression on Chunyuan's face was still bright, but his eyes were full of warning, and with Pip's keenness, he immediately noticed it. After a while, around 8 o'clock in the morning, the big iron door on the front made a roar. With the engine running, the hydraulic lifting device directly pulled up the several-ton iron door. There are 2 rolling doors inside, and there is a camera and communication equipment next to the door. 2 guards, also wearing the catcher armor of the Boston Red Sox, came out with assault rifles and stood on both sides. Then the 2 shutter doors opened, and the residents in front of them walked over one by one. After explaining their purpose to the camera, the guards will let go. On the other side of the rolling shutter door, residents in the stadium also began to walk out. It was Chunyuan's turn, and Chunyuan stood in front of the camera, waved his hand and said, "We are from the sheltered hills, and we have a batch of weapons ready to go." "A weapon? This is a dangerous item. Where did you find the weapon? Don't cause trouble for us." A man's voice came from the intercom. "We are members of the volunteer army. These weapons were obtained when we wiped out the looters during this period. We sold them when we couldn't use them up." Chunyuan replied. "People from the volunteer army? Well, the volunteer army is still very popular here. Come in. How many of you are there?" 1, 2, 3, wait a minute," the speaker was counting, and suddenly, he was a little speechless with a long sigh. "Oh, Pip." Pip, who was hiding behind Knight, came out, waved his hand at the camera and said with a smile, "Hi Sullivan, how are you doing recently?" "You can't go in, PYP, said the man. "This is impossible. I came here with these handsome men and beauties from the volunteer army. They have a batch of high-quality weapons and ammunition in their hands. I remember that old guy McDonough said last time that he was worried about a group of ultra-humans outside the city. Mutants," Piper said, putting his arm on Nate's shoulder. "I don't know how you hooked up with the volunteers, but Mayor McDonough said that you can't come in." Sullivan said on the intercom. "Whoa. Then maybe you could explain to Madonna why the weapons he needed weren't delivered when the super mutants threatened us?" Piper said with great pomp. There was a moment of silence on the intercom, only to hear Sullivan say helplessly, okay, come in. But listen, stop spreading rumors in the city, and just do me a favor. Thank you for the 1,000 starting point coins rewarded by the Star Sea Rangers. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 313. 310 Synthetic Mayor. Walking in through the rolling door, it looks like it should be the entrance for fans to enter the stadium. There are stairs leading to 3 directions in front of you. If you go up, you should be able to go to the stands. There are also some guards in catcher's armor patrolling around, and there are also automatic machine guns next to the stairs. From a defensive point of view, this section of stairs that originally diverted the fans who flocked in can actually bring a very good defensive ability after the enemy breaks through the gate. The guards of Diamond City can easily commandeer and shoot those intruders with poor marksmanship. In such an apocalypse, this is the basis for such a city to gain a foothold. Okay, don't tell me you lied to me again, Piper. The voice from the intercom just now came from the next security room, and only a 20-year-old security guard with a very strong body was in the security room. I'm not lying to you, Sullivan, these handsome men and beauties are really volunteers. Piper said. But that means they're not actually traveling with you, right? Sullivan asked. Oh, maybe. PYP spread his hands and shrugged. Are you the security officer here? Knight stepped forward and asked, I'm looking for my 1-year-old son, Sean, who has been kidnapped. Did you see a baby here who was swaddled by a face? A bald head with a scar on it? Sullivan thought for a while and replied, probably not. According to what you said, this combination should be quite conspicuous, but I haven't seen it. Wait a minute, your son was kidnapped? Pip was surprised beside him. Knight's expression darkened, yes, and that man also killed my wife. Pip shook his head, with an indignant look on his face, that's really, so insane. What do you have? Before she could finish her sentence, another voice came from behind them, hey. Pip. Why are you still here? Sullivan, you let her in again, didn't you? Chinyan turned his head, only to see a fat middle-aged man walking over with 2 guards. He was wearing a shabby but neat suit, a hat with a big brimmed hat, and a yellow flower pinned to his chest. That's not the case. I just let these volunteers come in, and then Pip squeezed in together. Sullivan quickly argued. Oh, look, this is our Mr. Mayor. A mayor who kicked out someone for telling the truth. Diamond of the Federation Mayor of Diamond City, Mr. McDonough. Piper said when he saw this fat man, he became furious and mocked sharply. Put that up? Pip. If you spread that devilish rumor in my city again, I'll dismantle the printing press in your broken newspaper and sell the parts. Madonna was furious, pointing at PYP's nose and yelling. Piper raised his hands and said loudly to the crowd, wow! Did you hear that? Everyone. The Mad Mayor wants to tear down the only newspaper office in Diamond City that tells the truth. Just sing your praises, if you dare to complain, you will be kicked out immediately. This mayor also has a different color. Yi leaned over and whispered in Chinyan's ear. Chinyan was shocked, this mayor is also a synthetic human? Just kidding. The academy has penetrated to this point? What exactly are they trying to do? Seeing the pedestrians around looking at him, Maidana immediately admitted his cowardice, pointed at Pip sternly and shouted, enough. Anyway, be more honest from now on. Oh, you're right. To tell the truth, you need to be honest. Pip had a very rich expression on her face, she winked and imitated Madonna's expression in an extremely exaggerated way. Mayor McDonough was completely defeated in the aspect of lip service. He quickly turned around and said to Knight, I'm sorry to make you laugh. This is just a trivial matter. Anyway, welcome to Diamond City. Here it is the most prosperous city in the Federation, where you can spend money, shop, and stay happily. In short, everything you can think of can be found here. Really? Then I'm looking forward to this place too. Chinyan said. This fat man is right. Anyway, the leading figures you are familiar with in the Federation were either born in Diamond City, or have been in Diamond City, and some were kicked out. There are schools, hospitals, food, giant walls, and so on. There's a mayor who's full of lies, Piper continued beside him. If you don't say the last sentence, then I think we can still get along happily. McDonough said angrily. This gentleman from the volunteer army came to look for his kidnapped son. You, the mayor, should be able to help him. Piper said. Oh. Your son was kidnapped? Madonna asked. Yes, my 1-year-old, Knight replied. This is really too bad. McDonough said, but there was no more. What? Shouldn't you send the guards of Diamond City to help him find it? Piper said. You have to know that the guards of Diamond City have to protect a huge city, and their strength is limited. I can't use the power of the guards for everything. After finishing speaking, Madonna said to Knight, but don't worry, there are thousands of residents in Diamond City, and there is no bigger and more perfect city in the entire Federation. I believe there must be someone who can help you among so many people. Chen Yuyan saw that this guy kept pushing back and forth, and he felt a little upset. He said, so you want to tell us that in the city, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack to find someone who might help? As a mayor, even yourself, don't you even know the situation in the city? Or do you not want to talk about it at all? Haha. You're so right. Pip winked at Chen Yuyan. The title of the next issue of the newspaper is already there. The 5-year-old mayor knows nothing about the city. Is it because he is forgetful or something else? Concealment. Enough. Madonna jumped up angrily. Before I get someone to beat you out, you disappear immediately. Then why don't you type it? This way I will have new material for my newspaper. Pip confronted. Oh my God, you are simply a demon. McDonough wailed, covering his forehead, shaking his head, determined not to provoke the reporter, and said to Knight, I know there is a private person in Diamond City, Detective Nick Valentine, maybe he can help find it. Anyway, he's going to help the city people find lost cats and dogs or something. After speaking, he took the 2 guards and left as if fleeing. Pip shook his fist at his back. You are the one who should get out? The lackey of the academy. A running dog of the academy? What's the situation? Chen Yuyan suddenly caught Pip's words. And Piper suddenly became interested. She shook her finger, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Oh. You know the academy? It seems that we have something to talk about. How about going to my office? Knight is now full of his son's affairs, he said. Then you go, I will ask that private detective. Thank you for the 1000 starting point coins rewarded by the Star Sea Rangers. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 314. 311, Into the City. Are you going to find Nick Valentine? I know this guy. His detective agency is in the back street. I'll show you later. Come, this way. Pip greeted. It seems that she became more serious after entering the city, so the previous performance outside the city was, seduction. Chen Yuyan looked at her appearance again. It was a very typical Western face, and there was nothing outstanding about it. And because of the poor quality of life in this federal wasteland, her skin is very rough. This is a common problem among wasteland residents. After all, there are no Clarins, Dior, Estee Lauder, SK2, Lancome, Shiseido. That's why the delicate skin on the faces of Chen Yuyan, Yi, and Nate is so conspicuous. But I don't know why. Knight seems to be quite moved by Piper, and I don't know what he thinks. A group of 4 went up the stairs, and Knight began to ramble again. This is the road of honor. Go up the stairs, step on the stands, and you will see a sea of red, which is the symbol of Boston and the symbol of Boston. Pride. We have the best fans in the world, the best team and the best stadium. Before Knight finished speaking, he froze at the stairs, unable to utter a single word. Chen Yuyan was 2 steps behind. When he stepped up the stairs and stood at the top of the stairs, overlooking the entire stadium, he was also a little surprised. It turns out that the entire stadium has been transformed into a shack area, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is a slum. Rows of private houses were built on the surrounding stands, and they were all made of wood and iron sheets. The playing field in the middle was also filled with various houses. In the chaos, 2 or 3 streets could barely be seen. On the side is a dilapidated shop. To put it bluntly, this is indeed a slum. However, Pip next to him didn't realize it at all. She opened her hand and pointed at the slum and said, "Did you see it? This is the brightest emerald diamond in the entire Federation, the light that illuminates this wasteland. No matter how good the mayor is, you bastard, but it can't hide the light of Diamond City." "Oh no." Knight knelt on the ground and screamed in despair, "I just saw you transform my favorite stadium into a shack. My God, how can you do this? The shack? No, why do you regard the best city in the Federation as a shack?" Piper was a little annoyed. "Isn't it? This used to be a stadium. A stadium. A symbol of victory and glory. But now it has become a slum full of stinky water." Knight complained loudly. "Oh. So you've seen better cities?" Piper suddenly became curious. "This ghostly place isn't even a good village." Knight was shocked and began to speak out. "Humph. Then tell me, what is a real city?" Piper said with his hands on his hips. Chun Yuyan walked over and patted Knight on the shoulder and said, "Okay, don't forget that this is a destroyed world. Now your favorite golf course has protected and fed thousands of people in this apocalypse, you should be happy. Although the Boston Red Sox and Fenway Park are a thing of the past, they live on in people's hearts in a different way. I understand this, it's just that I can't get used to it." Knight sighed, he patted the back of Chun Yuyan's hand, and the latter immediately took his hand away as if he had been electrocuted. "Okay, you go to Nick Valentine, I'll ask this lady reporter to find out about the academy." Chun Yuyan pushed him. Knight nodded, and walked down the passage paved with iron plates alone. "Hey. Blue. Remember to let me do an interview when you get back," Piper exclaimed. Knight didn't answer or look back, he raised his hand and waved, as if he agreed, but the dog behind him barked. "Then let's go, handsome. By the way, I don't know what to call you yet?" Pip turned around and asked. She was much more careful when talking to Chun Yuyan, and her intuition told her that the person in front of her was definitely not. Why can she play with the good stubble in the applause with all her cleverness? "You can just call me Boss Yan, this is my daughter Yi." Chun Yuyan replied flatly. "You. Daughter?" Pip glanced back and forth between Chun Yuyan and Yi. His eyes were burning with gossip, but he didn't dare to speak, feeling uncomfortable. Chun Yuyan was too lazy to satisfy her curiosity, but followed her all the way to the door of a small house on the edge of the court. A 10-year-old girl was standing on a high platform, holding a stack of newspapers in her hand and shouting loudly, "Public events. Come and see. What is the truth about synthetic humans? How much information is the mayor hiding from us? Purchase 2 bottle caps for a public affairs newspaper and you can see the truth." "Hi, Cortana, I'm back." Pip walked over and spread his hands, deliberately making a surprise appearance. However, the girl just gave her a blank look and said, "No one came to buy newspapers, and our printing press is broken. You have to fix this junk. Otherwise, we won't even have money for tomorrow's meal." "Hey, I'm trying, aren't I?" PYP said. "Have you been threatened by others?" the girl sarcastically asked. "You know, Cortana, a reporter who is never threatened by others is definitely not a successful reporter. And I happen to be the super successful kind." Piper replied heartlessly. "Okay, super successful lady reporter, when will we fix our printing press?" Ziona rolled her eyes again. "Wait for Ziona first, we will close the door today. There is a super explosive news coming to us. Haha, this time we must completely smash Madonna's lies." Piper hurried urged. Ziona was still muttering and complaining, but she had already jumped off the stage and started packing her things swiftly. Then she saw Yi and Chun Yuyan, her eyes lit up. "Wow! What a beautiful big sister. Why don't you say what a handsome big brother?" Chun Yuyan walked over to touch her head, but Ziona nimbly avoided her and even made a face at him. Let's go in." Pip couldn't wait any longer, she dragged Chun Yuyan into the office in the inner room. With a clatter, Pip pushed all the piles of notifications on the table to the ground, and then moved a stool for Chun Yuyan and Yi, then sat down, cleared his throat, and asked in a very formulaic tone, "Ahem, then, let's conduct an interview with Boss Yan, who came out of the shelter." "Well, Boss Yan, you really know the academy, right? According to what you said, people in Diamond City don't believe in the existence of the academy. But didn't the mask-breaking incident 60 years ago happened in Diamond City?" Chun Yuyan asked. "That's because our Lord Mayor is likely to be in collusion with the college," Piper said, turning on the radio on the table with his backhand. "I only heard the impassioned speech of Mayor McDonough on the radio, talking about a bunch of nonsense, saying that the college is fake, the synthetic man is fake, and he was born and raised in Diamond City. He is definitely not a synthetic man such as. Then I started talking about how safe Diamond City is, blah blah. Thanks for the reward of 300 starting coins from the great demon king of the abyss. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 315. 312 The Mayor's Kidnapping Plan. This guy found out that I was back, so he ran to the square to give a speech in a hurry. Pip pointed in a direction through the wall. Actually, his nonsense is no longer useful. The Academy is an evil organization that really exists and threatens us all the time. Then what is the Academy doing here? Except what happened 60 years ago? Chun Yuyan asked. Of course. People go missing in Diamond City almost every day, and Madonna doesn't care about these missing people at all. Every time, he excuses that the guards in Diamond City are too busy. Then he turns around and announces loudly that these people just went missing by themselves. That's all, and the Academy is fake, the synthetics are fake, everything is fake. Piper said loudly, angrily. So he's trying to cover up? Maybe he just doesn't want these things to make the residents of Diamond City panic? Chun Yuyan said. Things are definitely not that simple, because the existence of the Academy is obvious. There are two types of synths we can see. One looks fake, with plastic skin and metal bones, and they sometimes appear in groups. The Federation collects all kinds of materials. The other is very real, it looks like a real person, they can talk, laugh, and bleed, but they are just man-made monsters, Piper said. Chun Yuyan nodded. Not long ago, I reported the massacre at University Corner, which was made by the synthetic man of the Academy. But even with such iron evidence in front of him, Madonna still insisted that the Academy was just a lie, and refused to make any comments on it. Investigation. Coupled with the fact that I followed him for a period of time, I think that Madonna might be a synthetic man himself. Piper whispered, pretending to be mysterious. Chun Yuyan was thoughtful. Seeing his appearance, Piper asked, then, how do you know about the Academy? Do you know Brotherhood of Steel? Chun Yuyan asked suddenly. I know, that's a group of lunatics who pursue authoritarianism. They don't see the existence of any slightly technological items in the hands of residents. As long as you have them, they would rather kill you than take them away. Laser guns, water purifiers, computer terminal, take everything. Including the beep boy on your little blue friend. If someone from the Brotherhood of Steel sees it, he will definitely be snatched away. Piper said through gritted teeth. Actually, I encountered a Brotherhood of Steel scouting squad at the police station in Cambridge. Wait a minute, the Brotherhood of Steel has come to the Commonwealth. Those lunatics? They entrusted me to help find something in the laboratory of the ArcJet system, but when we entered, we found that a large number of synthesizers from the Academy were also there. Piper shook his fist and said, Brotherhood of Steel and the Academy, dog eats dog. That's great. You shouldn't be helping the Brotherhood of Steel, though. I didn't know it at the time, and I thought they could at least to some extent use it to wipe out the evil forces like predators in the Federation. Chun Yuyan said. Ah, yes, Those lunatics wish the world was full of farmers and they were the ones on top," said Piper. "Also, regarding the matter of the college, I hope you can help me investigate," Chen Yuyan said. "A hero who tirelessly fights crime in the Federation? Haha, what a good topic." Piper chuckled, "No problem, I'll join." "So where do we start? For example, check out the old guy McDonough. What does it have to do with the school?" Chen Yuyan said, "That's right, Mayor McDonough is indeed the biggest breakthrough, because he is indeed a synthetic human." This time it was Piper's turn to be surprised. She covered her mouth and whispered, "What did you say? He's really a synthetic? How can you be so sure?" "Because my daughter Yi has a very special ability, she can tell who is a synth and who is not. So, I can say with certainty that Madonna is a synth," Chen Yuyan replied. "That's great. We can announce it immediately." "No. No, it will be very dangerous, and people won't believe it," Pip said halfway, and then denied his plan. Her starting point made Chen Yuyan nod secretly. Although her mouth was a bit poisonous and her personality was a bit bad, she was a kind-hearted reporter after all. "So, you are familiar with Diamond City, do you have any ideas?" Chen Yuyan asked. "How about, let's steal Madonna's computer. See if there are any clues in it," Piper said. Chen Yuyan thought for a while and said, "It's not very meaningful. I need to remind you that it's meaningless to expose Madonna. The Academy can send more synthetic humans to replace more people. Therefore, it is necessary to untie the bell. If you want to solve the problem of synthetic people, you must solve the problem of the Academy." Piper shook his head. "Academy is everywhere, they will appear anywhere, and they will disappear anywhere, we can't find any trace of them at all. So, what we want to do is not to steal Madonna's computer, but to steal him," Chen Yuyan said. "You mean, kidnapping?" Pip turned pale in shock. She began to look Chen Yuyan up and down again, wondering if she had been deceived by him. "It seems that you still don't believe me. Forget it, you're not doing very well in the city anyway. How about going to Sanctuary Hill with me? Now the volunteer army is rebuilding their stronghold there," Chen Yuyan said. "Zouaves? Are you really from the Zouaves?" Piper said. "They're protecting the hills?" "No, how do I remember they were in Hardware Town?" Chen Yuyan smiled lightly and said, "You want to talk about Quincy Town and the castle, right? You don't need to test me, and I don't have the need to deceive you. You don't have the value. What I want to say is that Quincy Town has disappeared. The city was directly slaughtered by the gunmen, the volunteer army was also severely damaged, and the castle was abandoned. Now they are under the leadership of Preston Garvey, rebuilding in Sanctuary Hills." "Preston? It's him. Well, I promise you. I'll go with you to Sanctuary Hills, and I'll help you when I'm confirmed. If you really want to kidnap Madonna, I know how to do it. I don't want to scare the snake away. I also grew up in Diamond City, and I am very familiar with everything here." Piper's expression became serious. Chen Yuyan nodded, and he stood up and said, "Okay then, you can do your work first, and I'll go see McDonough. After all, there are still a batch of weapons to sell to him." "You still sell him weapons? To this synthetic man?" Piper was a little surprised. "No, I'm selling weapons to residents of Diamond City," Chen Yuyan said seriously. "Okay handsome guy, I'll wait for you at Jokiao Noodle Restaurant. You should treat me to a bowl of noodles." "You're welcome." Pip smiled, waved at Chen Yuyan, walked to a corner of the office, took out wrench, started repairing the battered printing press. Chen Yuyan looked at this upright reporter and smiled slightly. Although she spoke very casually, she was actually a very reliable person. He walked out of the newspaper office, asked random people, and found out that Madonna's office was in the VIP box of the stadium, so he walked over with a large backpack full of weapons. These weapons were obtained in good condition after they wiped out the camps of several looters and gunmen. After handing them over to Mayor McDonough, the flesh on his smiling face was almost squeezed together. Praised Chen Yuyan and the volunteer army. He also said that Diamond City and the volunteer army are forever friends. The volunteer army helped Diamond City before, and now these weapons have also helped them a lot. Chen Yuyan did hear from Preston that the first battle of the volunteer army was to help defend Diamond City and repel the raiders' attack. With the addition of the batch of weapons he sold at a low price, Mayor McDonough was short of awarding him a medal as a model citizen, and his wariness had dropped a lot. After finishing the matter here, Chen Yuyan came to the market of Diamond City with Yi humming a ditty. There was a very unique cylindrical metal building, which seemed to be remodeled with a large-scale device, with the words Takahashi Noodle House a few words. To his surprise, the owner of Jokiao Noodle Shop is actually a protector robot. But it only has one sentence, in Japanese, "What do you want?" And no matter what the customer says, it's always a hot bowl of udon noodles, which is kind of interesting. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 316. 313 Obtaining the Artifact of Customs Clearance. With a suck, the last noodle disappeared into Piper's mouth. She wiped her mouth casually and said, "If there is no threat of synthetics, life in Diamond City will be as delicious as the noodles made by Master Takahashi, but unchanged. To be honest, I still think the spicy beef noodles are better." Chen Yuyan muttered, drank the noodle soup in one gulp, raised his head and said to the robot, "How much?" "Nan en ishi ma shoka," said the protector robot called Takahashi. Chen Yuyan threw dozens of bottle caps casually, and the robot stretched out its clumsy mechanical arm and swept the bottle caps into the basket behind the bar, and said, "Nan en ishi ma shoka. Is that all you can say?" "Nan en ishi ma shoka. Then give me another bowl of noodles." "Nan en ishi ma shoka." After a while, another bowl of hot noodles was placed in front of Chen Yuyan. He paused with his chopsticks, picked up a handful of noodles and said, "So you can still understand?" "Nan en ishi ma shoka," Takahashi said. In the past, some citizens reported to McDonough that Takahashi's language system should be repaired, but McDonough said that Takahashi's language, which no one can understand, has become a symbol of Diamond City, so it has not been repaired. Then talking to him about it in the past few years, he just keeps saying that he doesn't have time, Piper said. "You mean to say that the replacement happened in these few years?" Chen Yuyan asked. "When you already know the answer, look back and you will find a lot of clues, won't you?" Piper said. Chen Yuyan drank up the noodle soup again, clapped his hands, stood up and said, "Let's go when you're full and take your sister with you." But Pip shook his head, "Ziona, stay here first, and it will be too late to take her away when we start planning. You still keep an eye on it. This is necessary. If you want to live longer in this federation, you must do so. Don't underestimate me. I used to be in the militia." Pip said with a warning tone. "It doesn't matter if you used to be in the Ghost Army. Anyway, it only takes a slap to clean you up," Chen Yuyan added in his heart. However, when they came to Nick Valentine's detective agency, they were told by his assistant that Nick had disappeared, and Knight had already rushed to find him just now. There was no other way, Chen Yuyan had no choice but to take Pepu on the way back to the sheltered hill. The reason why he valued Pip so much, and he did not hesitate to take her nearly 100 kilometers to the Sanctuary Hills, was because this reporter had investigated the Academy for a long time, and she must know a lot of information about the Academy's activities. On the other hand, among the 4 synths lurking in human society that Chen Yuyan has discovered so far, only Madonna is carrying out an action that may be related to the Academy. The others, whether it was Hamid, Sturgis, or Paladin Dance, were doing what they were supposed to do without any flaws, and none of them could be found. Yudeo means that the more you do, the more mistakes you make. The reason why Piper found out about Madonna is because he did a lot of things and said a lot, but he seemed to be trying to cover it up. Therefore, kidnapping Madonna is the best way, but Chunyuan can drive Wuxia all the way to kill them. If he wants to kidnap their mayor without causing chaos in Diamond City, he needs the help of people like Pip. Of course, it's not impossible for Wuxia to drive, just like when Chunyuan led Piper to fight all the way from the center of Boston. Plop, Chunyuan kicked away the corpse of a looter, picked up a shotgun with a strange shape from under the corpse, and held it in his hand for inspection. Piper, on the other hand, looked back at the dozens of marauder corpses on the road and couldn't say a word. Before, she didn't have any real feelings about these two handsome men and beautiful women who looked pink and tender, but what was shown in front of her now was extremely terrifying fighting power. They are completely unreasonable. When they see a stronghold, they will rush in directly after a little investigation from the outside. Then after a burst of screams and gunshots, there were corpses all over the ground when I went in. Now Pip looked at Chunyuan differently, such a powerful fighting force even made her feel scared. She began to think wildly, wondering if Chunyuan and the others were actually synthetic beings, and they were going to get rid of them quietly if they tricked her out. But now it was impossible to escape, so Pip could only follow Chunyuan and the others tremblingly. But now Chunyuan's attention was on this shotgun. Just now he wanted to wipe out a building occupied by looters on a whim, but he encountered unexpected firepower. The other party seemed to have several grenade guns, and the rumble was an overwhelming bombardment. This formation simply surprised him. Who knew that after he'd put in a lot of work to kill all the looters, all he saw was a strange shotgun. He quickly used the scan function on the shotgun. The scan is complete, the explosive shotgun has been entered into the Infinite Base database and can be built. Explosive shotgun? What is this? Chunyuan hurriedly clicked on the detailed data of the explosive shotgun, only to see in the introduction that it said, a shotgun equipped with explosive components, the bullets fired will contain explosive energy. I'll go, is it so powerful? What is the explosion component? Chunyuan continued to operate in the system interface in his mind. He tapped the image of the shotgun, silently read the disassembly, and then the whole shotgun was broken down into countless parts, down to a single screw. This is a function that Chunyuan seldom uses, decomposition function. After scanning a product, he can manufacture only one part of the product. In fact, strictly speaking, after Chunyuan scanned the T-72 tank before, he only produced the machine gun bullets and shells of the tank alone, which can be regarded as a way to use this function. He clicked on the explosive component of the shotgun action, only to see the instructions pop up. Explosive components. Construction conditions, Level 3, Manufacturing Center. Build time, 10 minutes. Construction resources, 300 g of metal, 1 kg of low-purity refined tiberium. Function, when the firearm is fired, an explosive energy is attached to the bullet to increase the power of the weapon. If you want the power of a howitzer with a shotgun, this is the way to go. Note, because the explosive components are very delicate, they must be carefully modified to be used on other types of firearms. Or after obtaining the technology of the explosive component, the system can integrate this technology with the technology of other firearms. Note 1. Fire. This is an artifact. Compared to this, the explosive bullets in the domestic Ling Ling paint he got before are simply weak. Chunyuan picked up the gun, aimed at a wall in front of him and pulled the trigger. Boom. Countless small explosions exploded immediately, and the wall was instantly shattered into pieces. Note 1, in fact, I have thought about the weapon entry of Fallout 4 for a long time, don't write it, this is the essence of the game, who doesn't have an explosive weapon to torture the legendary Death Claw, and treat the difficulty of Nightmare as simple play. Write it, this thing is not scientific at all, what should I do? Then we have to compromise and describe it in terms of a unique and difficult to replicate reinforcement component. In the future, the protagonist will have a T-51B and a burst shotgun in his subordinates. It makes sense when you think about it. Thanks to Under the White Moon, 168299742 for the reward of 100 starting coins. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 317. 314 Jackson Caravan. After getting the explosive shotgun, Chunyuan decisively replaced the M4101 pulse rifle. Just kidding, scopes are only used by sissies, real men always stick to their faces. And the most powerful thing about this explosive component is that it acts directly on the bullet instead of using a special bullet. From this point alone, it is an explosive bullet for domestic Lingling paint. Of course, the price is also ridiculously expensive. Just this explosive component requires 1 kilogram of refined tiberium, and it takes 10 minutes for the production line of the third-level manufacturing center. The current situation of sitting and eating has made Chunyuan a little nervous. He plans to build the cultivation pool of the tiberium mine when he returns this time. It was short-staffed before, and it was worried about accidents after it was built. Now that the volunteer army is developing faster and faster, it is time to think about long-term things. Wow! You actually found this kind of experimental weapon? Piper sighed when he saw the power of this shotgun, thinking that his chances of escaping from this murderous Demon King were getting slimmer and slimmer. Although there was almost no chance. What experimental weapon? Chunyuan asked. It is this kind of weapon that is much more powerful than ordinary firearms. In the past, the US government set up research centers for some advanced weapons. After the war, many of these weapons flowed into the wasteland. Such weapons are very rare, and no one can copy them and maintenance, because the structure is too delicate, Piper said. Chunyuan was in a good mood, weighed the explosive shotgun in his hand and said, "That means I'm lucky today." They were about to leave when Yi suddenly pointed in one direction and said, "There is a voice over there." Chunyuan immediately turned his head and listened intently. Sure enough, he heard voices speaking from inside the ruins. He listened for a while, then frowned and said, "It doesn't look like someone, go and have a look." That being said, he walked over carefully, and as he got closer, he heard what seemed to be a radio. What he was worried about now was not someone, but that this was a trap. But Yi used a magic to detect life again, and said, "There is no one here, it should be just a broadcast." As he said that, he went straight forward, kicked a collapsed broken wall, and then lifted a big stone. Sure enough, an old-fashioned radio was lying among the rubble, making continuous sounds. It should have been buried in the previous battle. Here is emergency broadcast. Help! Help! Our caravan is attacked by robots. We are east of What's Electronics, help! I can't last long, hey Ada, hurry up and broadcast the news. Whoever hears the broadcast, save us. Robot. Is it a master of mechanics again? Chunyuan was taken aback, and then said eagerly, "Someone is under attack, hurry up and save him." Where is What's Electronics? Piper also immediately became nervous, pointed in one direction and said, "I know, just go straight under this viaduct. It's not far from here." Yi, you go first. I'll be there with Pip. Chunyuan said loudly. Before he finished speaking, Yi shot out like an arrow from the string, and disappeared at the end of the street after a few ups and downs. Those messy ruins did not affect her speed at all. "Let's go, keep up," Chunyuan said to Pip, and hurriedly followed behind. However, he also took care of Piper's speed, and he didn't run as fast as Yi. It is important to save people in the past, but there must be no accidents on Pip's side. They walked along the road for about a kilometer, and heard a burst of gunshots in the distance, but after walking a certain distance, the gunshots disappeared. What's wrong? Why did the gunfire disappear? Piper was a little nervous. Oh, Yi has already dealt with the enemy, so of course there will be no more gunshots. Chen Yuyan said. You're not worried about her? Your daughter? PYP asked. The scene of Yi single-handedly fighting against two raider robots emerged in Chen Yuyan's mind, and he shook his head and said, I'm only worried about her opponent. Sure enough, after they ran all the way, the battle was over, and the wreckage of several robots fell on the ground, while 3 people and 4 robots were still standing. I only saw one of them talking to Yi, but Yi simply ignored him. Seeing Chen Yuyan approaching, Yi immediately ran over like a butterfly, hugged his arm and shook it, and said happily, Dad, I killed all the robots. Soon. Chen Yuyan smiled and touched Yi's head, then walked over to the leader and said, Are you all right? Thank you so much for this lady. She is not only beautiful but also powerful. This is the 3rd time we have been attacked, and we have run out of ammunition. I really don't know if this lady hadn't come here, what would have happened to us? What will be the result? The leader is young, in his early 30s at most, wearing a shirt and a vest, but there are many small pockets sewn inside the vest, and some tools such as wrenches are inserted. It's okay, I came over as soon as I heard your distress broadcast, but luckily I didn't come too late. Chen Yuyan said. My name is Jackson, this is my wife Lisa, and this is our skilled worker Hazy. Jackson pointed to a woman behind him and a black man in a one-piece technical suit, and then he pointed to then introduce the several robots behind him one by one. This is Hertz, a protector-type robot. This is Turing, a Mr. Handy robot. These 2 are Ada and Shadow, both of which are Raider-type robots, but the emphasis of modification is different. Shadow is in charge of assault, and Ada is in charge of fire support. Jackson also named these robots, and it seems that his attitude towards robots is completely different from others. Thank you very much for your help. Only the Blue Raider robot came over and said. Chen Yuyan noticed that it was not the same as the Raider robot he had fought before. Some modifications should have been made. The right arm is a 3-barreled rotating machine gun, the left arm is a laser gun, and there is a large backpack hanging behind him. You guys are, a caravan? Chen Yuyan was a little puzzled. Hee, that's right, a caravan. Maybe you've never seen a caravan with robots like me, after all other caravans have 2-headed bulls. He smiled, Master Mechanic's robots have attacked us 3 times in a row. It seems that they also realize that my robot partners and I are a different kind. Chen Yuyan narrowed his eyes, do you know Master Mechanic? It's not surprising, in fact, I've heard of it. Last month, a team of scavengers in Diamond City was attacked. According to the survivors, it was a team of robots that attacked them. And some eyeball robots kept coming. They are the Legion of Mechanic Masters, and they are here to help the citizens of the Commonwealth. Piper took up the conversation. Humph. You say that, but in fact you shoot without mercy. As long as it is a human being, it is within their attack range. Hazy, I said with righteous indignation. Chen Yuyan immediately became very interested in this caravan. He said, since you are out of ammunition and food, how about following me? I am going to the Hill of Shelter. You should have heard of the volunteer army, right? I am a member of the volunteer army. Sure enough, Jackson's eyes lit up, volunteers. Are you from the volunteers? No wonder you rushed over immediately after hearing my distress signal. Thank you so much. Are the volunteers sheltering the hills now? Okay, then I'll go there with you. Then let's go. Chen Yuyan nodded. Wait a minute, Hertz, Turing, hurry up and collect the useful parts of those robots, This is a rare opportunity. Jackson greeted. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 318. 315 Watcher. With Chunyuan, Yi, and Piper joining in, Jackson's caravan grew stronger. Their caravan originally consisted of 3 people and 4 robots, but now it has formed a team of 10 people. There was no danger along the way, or in front of Chunyuan and Yi. Those scattered predator organizations were not a problem at all. They went back to Diamond City to replenish some supplies, because Jackson and the others had run out of ammunition and lost a lot of food in the previous battle. After that they walked all the way towards the Sheltered Hills. Shelter Hill is more than 80 kilometers away from downtown Boston, so if you walk at a normal speed, it will take almost 3 days. During this journey, Chunyuan basically became acquainted with the people in the caravan. Jackson was a brilliant robotics engineer whose home was in Arlington, just north of Boston. According to him, he also invented a device called a robot workshop, which can repair and transform robots very conveniently. He has produced many robots in the past few years, but he also spent too many resources. So I took 4 of the smarter robots and went out, planning to use my own skills to run the business, earn some bottle caps, and then build a robot farm in my hometown with my wife Lisa. And Jose is Jackson's apprentice. He is a very clever black boy, very talkative and cheerful. Note 1. Who knew that their group of 3 and 4 machines had been walking in the Federation for less than a month, when they were targeted by the robot of the master mechanic. The opponent's robots seemed to regard them as thorns in their eyes, and they had to be eliminated quickly. They were attacked 3 times before and after, leaving them exhausted and out of ammunition. Chunyuan also found that among the 4 robots, Hertz was the most backward protector type robot, so what he could do was relatively limited. In addition to using the laser guns equipped with both hands for fire support, he usually used his hands and backed up. Backpack. Mr. Handy Mr. Turing is in charge of Jackson's daily life like a housekeeper. Of the 2 state-of-the-art Raider-type robots, Shadow is silent, but he is completely black and equipped with sharp blades. Jackson has upgraded the power system for it, so it can move very fast. And Ada is the one who talks the most among several robots, and according to Chunyuan's feeling, it is also the one who is more like a person. On the way, Chunyuan chatted with Ada without knowing how it started. By the way, you have been attacked so many times, haven't you ever thought of fighting back? Find the master mechanic and kill him. Chunyuan said. We have really thought about it, but the mechanic master hides very deeply, and it is difficult for us to find his trace. Moreover, I have simulated and calculated more than 3,000 times, and found that even if we go to the door, the number of times we can defeat the mechanic master is 0. Ada replied. Then do you know that there is a brain-controlled robot among the robots of Master Mechanic? Chunyuan asked. Yes, I have seen it once. This kind of existence gives me the feeling that it is not like our robots at all. It is difficult for me to describe them as robots. But they are playing the squadron of the robot army under the Mechanic Master Commander's role. I killed a brain-controlled robot before, and the engineer of the volunteer army found a strange device in the brain inside. He called it a beacon. Chunyuan said about SITG, feeling a little unsure how to describe it. Because he thought of Dance Again, and of Hamid, and of Madonna. The academy has really penetrated into every aspect of the Federation. You found the beacon? Jose, who was walking in front, suddenly turned around and said excitedly. He hurriedly greeted Jackson, Hey, Master. Boss Yan and the others found a beacon of Master Mechanic. Did you really find the beacon? Jackson looked surprised. Chunyuan nodded, and our engineer said that we can use this beacon to find the direction of the source of the Master Mechanic's signal. Great. I'm more familiar with how robots work, let me see that beacon, maybe I can have more ways. Jackson pumped his fist excitedly, Since the robot of the mechanic master appeared in the Federation since then, very few people have been able to kill brain-controlled robots under heavy protection. I have known for a long time that it is impossible for him to control so many robots without setting up beacons. So, you have a way to track down Master Mechanic? Chen Yuyan asked. Let me take a look at the beacon, I will definitely think of a way. As long as we can find him, we can erase this mechanical demon from the Federation once and for all. Jackson said. After determining the target, the pace of their group also accelerated a lot that night. They came to a small village to rest temporarily. Jackson immediately took on the role of a caravan, and began to sell some items, some of which were small mechanical devices he made by himself, such as lawn mowers, and some items they purchased from Diamond City. Chen Yuyan and Yi wandered around the village casually, but Yi reminded him again that one of the villagers had a different color. Chen Yuyan's eyes narrowed, and his mood suddenly became very bad, but then, his eyes stopped on one of the villagers. It wasn't the villager with a different color that Yi mentioned, but a very ordinary-looking villager with dark skin who was cleaning with a broom. He kept an airplane cut, and matched it with the tattered gray suit on his body, which has a little flavor. Chen Yuyan stepped forward. He was in a very bad mood now, and his tone was not so polite. Have we met? Hello, stranger. I'm sure we haven't seen each other. This is the first time your caravan has come here, said the villager. Then you must know a caravan member named Cody, right? Chen Yuyan grabbed the villager's shoulders, and the strength of his fingers gradually increased. He felt that the villager's muscles were very strong and not rigid, completely different from the muscles of ordinary peasants. This is the kind of muscle that is good at fighting and fighting. His intuition was right, but it was just a hunch. However, for the current situation, is there any evidence that matters? He felt that this person was spying on him. Chen Yuyan's current posture is very affectionate, grabbing the shoulders of the villagers as if meeting an old friend, and said in a voice that only two people can hear, I don't know who you are, and I'm not interested in knowing. But I promise, if you appearing in front of me again is the time of your death. After finishing speaking, his fingers increased suddenly, and with a click, the villager's shoulder was immediately dislocated by him. But even though this villager was enduring great pain, his complexion remained normal, and he didn't even shed cold sweat on his face. He was obviously a tough guy. He popped out a few words between his teeth, I have no malice. When we meet again, I will tell you a lot of things you want to know. Now, do what you want to do, this is the same as I have the same goals. Note 1, in fact, the DLC of Fallout 4 Mechanical Legion is still too simple, and it is not at the same level as Far Harbor. This time, at the beginning of the DLC, resurrecting the wreckage and corpses lying on the ground is a wish. Thank you for the 1000 starting point coins rewarded by the Star Sea Rangers. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 319. 316 New Clue. Oh. Chen Yuyan's eyes radiated a dangerous light, I am a little interested when you say that. Then let me put it another way. If you don't tell me your origin now, then you will die now. As he spoke, he added a little more force to his hands. The person in front of him seemed to be in pain, and finally couldn't help moaning in a low voice. He quickly said, I am a survivor of the university corner, and I am investigating the academy. Why should I believe you? Although Chen Yuyan's voice was low, there was a hint of ruthlessness in his tone. 2 years ago, the university corner was massacred by the college's synthetics, I was in it, and my good friend Ji Luo. His daughter found something that the college was interested in, so it was killed by the college's synthetics. Everyone was massacred. A few other friends and I are survivors, and we have been searching for the academy since that day. Ouch, I'm dying, please let me go, please, the villager whispered. Hee hee, Chen Yuyan sneered, then Cody of Hamid's caravan is you. Many caravans in the Federation have been spied by the college. I follow the caravans just to find their traces," said the villager. "Then why are you spying on me?" Ah, because you are investigating the academy and the synth, so I noticed you. I heard about you in Shizongjuang," said the villager. "What's your real name?" "Mike." "My name is Mike." "One Mike?" "Then since you also know that I'm investigating the academy, and you also said that you're going to deal with the academy, do you have anything to tell me?" Chen said grimly. "The academy is very hidden, all their synths come and go without a trace, and no one knows how they do it. So no one can ever find the academy," Mike said. "Then if that's the case, you're useless." As Chen said, with a little force on his arm, Mike only felt a sharp pain at the dislocated shoulder, and at the same time Chen grabbed his neck. Even though the action was like this, from the perspective of outsiders, it seemed that he still hugged Mike's shoulder affectionately and whispered, "Wait a minute. I have a clue." Mike's voice became hoarse, and he struggled to squeeze out the words. The strength in Chen hand loosened a little, and he said lightly, "Speak." "The people who are active outside the academy are basically synthetics. These synthetics have been encrypted, and it is difficult to get any information from them, but there is one exception." "A person?" Chen immediately grasped the difference in his words. "Yes. A human. He is also working for the academy. He is very powerful, even more powerful than some new synthetic humans. Before the academy has developed a new type of synthetic human, he is the sharpest knife in the academy," Mike said. "Who is he?" "Kroger. And do you know where to find him? For a top mercenary like him, it is very difficult to catch the trace. But he is not without flaws, because he has stayed in Diamond City for a long time, and this is his flaw." "You said it, but you didn't say it. According to you, he should have been away for a long time, right? If you really want to investigate the academy, you can start where he lived before. Then why didn't you go? Don't you have a deep hatred with the academy?" Chen sneered. "Kroger is the top mercenary. First of all, I need to live, and then I can take revenge." Mike gradually calmed down and said in a deep voice. Chen thought for a while, then shook his head and said, "It still doesn't work, this information can't be exchanged for a life. I've seen Kroger. He's bald, bearded, with a scar on his face, and he looks very vicious, and his usual weapon is a large caliber revolver. Look for it according to this feature, it will be easier to find him." Mike said eagerly. "Bald. Scar. Vicious looking?" Chen was shocked. "Wait a minute, isn't this the same guy that Knight said earlier, who killed his wife Nora and took his son Sean? Could it be, the one who took Sean away was the academy?" He rubbed his chin in thought, and the strength in his hand could not help but relax. Mike broke free quickly. He rubbed his neck and gasped and said, "I hope you don't act rashly. I will come to you again." As he said that, he stepped back facing Chen, obviously very afraid of him, and after opening a distance of more than 10 meters, he turned around and left here quickly. Chen didn't want to pay attention to him anymore. This guy was full of lies, and he didn't have much to say to him, that is, his information just cost him his life. He picked up the volunteer army's communicator to contact Knight and tell him the information. Who knew that the communication could not be connected, so there are only two possibilities for this to happen. The first is that Knight's communicator has been damaged, so he is probably in danger. The second is that he is in a place where radio waves cannot penetrate. Chen Yuyan had an estimate of Knight's skill. Even if he was not as good as Hank, he was probably not too far behind the Wolf Mother Looper. And in this federal wasteland, most of the enemies have not undergone systematic military training, so even if Chen Yuyan and Yi don't have such heaven-defying physical fitness, Their fighting skills and experience alone are enough to crush most opponents. The same is true for Knight. Therefore, the first possibility is probably not true. Now Knight is definitely alive and well, but he doesn't know where he went. Maybe he is on the way to find Nick Valentine. This little episode did not disrupt Chen Yuyan's plan. For him, the most important thing is to do the things in front of him well. Send PYP and Jackson's caravan to Sanctuary Hills, and then make a plan with PYP to kidnap the mayor of Diamond City, Madonna, and see if Jackson can catch the trace of the mechanic. And based on his appearance and his residence not knowing how long ago, he wanted to capture Kroger, who is said to be a top-level mercenary. Chen Yuyan thought that this was definitely a long-term, time-consuming, and laborious job, and this matter was left to Knight. Do it. Afterwards they walked all day long before they came to Sanctuary Hills. And since he hasn't come back for almost a week, Chen Yuyan has almost changed a lot when he saw this place. More than 30 protector droids are prowling the streets, maintaining order, and that's certainly not all. Because this week, this protector robot factory has been producing non-stop. According to Time, almost 100 robots have been produced. It appears that more droids have been sent to other settlements by Preston Garvey. Moreover, the dilapidated and abandoned buildings in the sheltered hills have been repaired. Although they are still dilapidated, they are already habitable. The damaged bridge in front has also been repaired, the pier has been strengthened, stone slabs have been laid, and some heavy-duty double-headed ox carts can already enter. And on that river, a water purifier has been erected to provide pure water without radiation. The residents on the street walked around, or felled trees in the nearby woods, or planted various crops in the specially opened farmland, and the whole place showed vigorous vitality. Thank you for the 1000 starting point coins rewarded by a handful of small worlds. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 320. 317 Development of the Volunteer Army. It should be said that Sanctuary Hill is developing vigorously under the construction of the Volunteer Army. And to put it bluntly, although the Volunteer Army only has such a small number of people, the vitality displayed is very sufficient. This is also an issue that he is very concerned about. Although he used fishing methods to push Zhongqing to the front and then killed him to stimulate the vitality of the people of the ruined army, this method cannot be used repeatedly. He very much hoped to have a good discussion with Preston on these aspects. Chen Yuyan secretly admired Preston Garvey in his heart, and after he returned to Sanctuary Hill, he also had a long talk with Preston by taking the opportunity of reporting to work. PYP also went to talk to Preston afterwards. She obviously knew him, so the conversation between the two was also very pleasant and brief. Soon Piper got what he wanted to know, and came to say hello to Chen Yuyan, saying that she agreed to kidnap the mayor of Diamond City, Madonna. The Jackson caravan team also went to report to Preston that they were also willing to join the volunteer army, and since then they have been walking on the Federation as a caravan of the volunteer army. Preston also told him that there was a group of robots selling things in the General Atomics shopping mall, and now that he knew robots so well, he could deal with them in the future. Chen Yuyan didn't intend to leave immediately, he went to look for Preston again when he was free. He was busy here, but Yi was rarely by his side. She seemed to have seen something interesting, and went to hang out with Sturgis and Jackson, tinkering with some strange machines. Now there are more than 200 residents on the side of the volunteer army, and this growth can be described as very rapid. The number of people joining the volunteer army also began to increase, and now the number of combat troops of the volunteer army has also increased to more than 30 people. The colony at the Red Rocket repair station has been repaired and people are starting to live there, and Preston's plan is to continue to expand to Sunshine Beach Co-op and Concord. In Preston's plan, after they have enough power, they will be able to completely clean up the ferocious ghouls entrenched in Concord, and build it into a large town belonging to the volunteer army according to the world's standard. At the Starlight Rest Station, Preston sent 10 protector robots, 5 volunteers with the best marksmanship, and 10 strong residents. They will occupy the 30-meter high projection wall of the Starlight Rest Station as the commanding height, and then build fortifications there as an important outpost. Such a speed of development made Chen Yuyan unable to help but compare it with his own Ruin Legion. Although the Ruin Legion now has 7,000 to 8,000 people, population growth has always been a big problem. With this comparison now, Chen Yuyan understood the crux of the problem. The volunteer army has great prestige in the hearts of the residents of the Federation, so after the news spread that the volunteer army started rebuilding in the sheltered hills, a large number of residents would immediately go to join them. The Ruin Legion is different. With a place like Torch City nearby, the refugees scattered around will naturally not choose a place where birds don't shit. In addition, the reputation of the ruined city is not obvious now, and in the perception of almost everyone, the ruined city is still the ruins. However, the precedent of the volunteer army undoubtedly gave Chen Yuyan a direction to develop. As long as they can get through this difficulty, survive in the cracks between Lu Weiwei and Tai Long, or even do more, then the ruined city will naturally not lack those refugees. Unlike the world of radiation, the world of command and conquer has not been washed by nuclear bombs. Although the ravages of Tiberium are also terrible disasters, I believe that there are definitely many survivors in the vast yellow zone. The population exists. At least for now, the technology of T-45 power armor, various energy weapons and super explosive shotgun has given Chen Yuyan some hope. Most importantly, he believes there are more to come. Such as power armor stronger than T-45, such as full robotics technology, such as weapons that are more powerful than burst shotguns, such as the nuclear-powered engines that those car wrecks outside used to use. He talked to Preston about the development of the volunteer army, and Chen Yuyan also talked to him about the problems faced by the Ruin Legion in a very cryptic manner. In fact, the problem of the volunteer army is also very prominent now. As Chen Yuyan pointed out to him before, the volunteer army has insufficient dominance, so the villages and settlements that join the volunteer army are likely to lose control after their strength increases. In fact, the Legion of Ruins had similar problems, so Chen Yuyan publicly killed Zhang Qing, and opened a large number of municipal projects, with the purpose of establishing dominance as soon as possible. During the discussion between the two, both Chen Yuyan and Preston felt that they had benefited a lot, and they had been chatting for a long time before they knew it. At this time, a loud voice came from outside the door, "Boss Yan is back." "Ha ha ha ha. Boss Yan? Boss Yan." Chen Yuyan walked out the door, only to find that it was the big black man Ramirez, and behind him were several other members of the independent regiment, including Walter. After not seeing each other for a week, the ferocity of these people became more and more obvious, and even the temperament of Walter, who was just a big fool before, has changed a lot. "How is it? Did you stick to the training I planned for you?" Chen Yuyan asked with a smile. The smile on Ramirez's face stagnated, as if he remembered some unbearable experience, but he still nodded and said, "Except for the 2 days of the mission, our training volume is half, and the other 5 days we strictly follow the here comes your training." Chen Yuyan laughed dumbfounded. "Why, are you so self-conscious?" Ramirez was a little embarrassed. "Haha, I was thinking, if I can complete the training course you gave, maybe I can be as good as you and Miss Yi. You have carried out the mission for 2 days? What kind of mission?" Chen Yuyan asked. Preston took up the conversation and said, "It is to eliminate the surrounding predator strongholds, and find a way to open a road to the Kuajia assembly factory. I remember you said that you plan to use that factory for something." However, during their mission, not a single person was left alive. As he spoke, some dissatisfaction flashed in Preston's eyes. Ramirez laughed, ignoring Preston's resentment, and continued, the Wuxia assembly plant is on the outskirts of Lexington town, and with the viaduct as the boundary, the other side of Lexington town is the gunman's house. One of the main bases. If our volunteer army wants to occupy the Wuxia assembly factory, it will definitely conflict with the gunmen. I also know about the Quincy massacre. They have committed such a heinous crime. It is absolutely impossible for the volunteer army to continue to exist. So you opened up the road to the Wuxia assembly plant, but didn't occupy it? That's right, we are not strong enough to reach out there for the time being. It was Preston who answered. Chen Yuyan nodded, agreeing with this judgment. The current strategy of the volunteer army is to use the sheltered hills as a backup, vigorously develop Concord, and then radiate its power to the surroundings. If necessary, some villages will be relocated to Concord. If you can't go to the Wuxia assembly factory for the time being, do you have any huge metal containers? Chen Yuyan asked. Preston thought for a while. It seems that there really is one. There is a huge oil storage tank under the Red Rocket maintenance station, but it is already empty. I was planning to fill that oil tank with cement before. Oil storage tank? Chen Yuyan's eyes lit up. That's great, then there must be enough space. How about this, you move out all the residents of the Red Rocket maintenance station, leaving only the protector robot to patrol. What are you going to do? The corpses of those ghouls and looters who died outside must be dealt with, right? Otherwise, there may be a plague. Chen Yuyan said flatly. Thank you for the 1000 starting point coins rewarded by the Star Sea Rangers. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 321. 318 First Battle of the Independent Regiment. The relocation of the Red Rocket repair station was easy. There were only about 50 residents living here, and Preston relocated them to the Sunshine Coast Co-op with one word. Over there is a leisure hotel by the sea, which is a very suitable place to live after the volunteer army cleaned it up. The only disadvantage is that the terrain is not dangerous. For this reason, Sturgis built several automatic machine gun towers there. After asking Ramirez and the others to help throw some nearby corpses into the oil storage tank, Chen Yuyan dumped the liquid tiberium in his personal space into it. Then tell Preston that all the domestic garbage in the residential area can be thrown in here in the future, and the dead bodies of invading wild ghouls and mutant moles can also be thrown in here. Under the erosion of tiberium mines, these corpses and garbage will soon become new tiberium mines, which is actually quite environmentally friendly. Later, Chen Yuyan built a tiberium refinery here. Now he still has more points, so after thinking about it, he built another worker ant drone factory. Then he struggled with whether to build a tank, and then gave up. The terrain of the federal wasteland is complicated, and even the roads are full of car wreckage, making it difficult for tanks to maneuver. As for the production line of B.O.W, it is even more unnecessary. Now that the development of the volunteer army is very benign, there is no need to add more things to the snake. So Chen Yuyan built a crab spider-shaped engineering robot here, which can be used to repair various mechanical equipment. Something happened here. Chen Yuyan also contacted Knight, and told him that Kroger might be the murderer of his wife. Knight seemed very excited. He said he had found Detective Nick Valentine, ready to return to Diamond City immediately to investigate this matter. Chen Yuyan told him that Kroger is very dangerous, and there may be synthetics from the academy covering him, so remember to tell this side when you find Kroger, and then act together. Now that we have made an agreement with Knight, we don't have to worry about Kroger's affairs, because we still need to go to Diamond City to investigate Kroger's affairs, so Diamond City can't be chaotic for the time being, and the kidnapping of Madonna can only be postponed. Chen Yuyan took a break and continued to train Ramirez and the others to death. Following the news from the General Atomics shopping plaza, Hamid made another trip and brought back several robots repaired by the Crab Spider engineering robot over there. Among them, the Boxer and Mr. Blaster, which were damaged by the attack of the Mechanic Master last time, have also been repaired. In addition, there are 3 Mr. Blasteros and 7 Mr. Skillful Hands. These were bought by Chen Yuyan with pre-war currency like waste paper. All the robots have been repaired from the wreckage of more than 20 robots. Chen Yuyan entrusted Mr. Skillful Hands to Preston. These robots can do many things, such as helping residents repair houses and even take care of crops. The rest of the Boxers and a total of 4 Mr. Hurricane will be organized into their own independent group together. Now the independent group has 5 gunmen including Ramirez, Walter, 4 Mr. Hurricane, Boxer, Chen Yuyan, and Yi. In addition, the Scorpion Type I assault rifle has also begun to be equipped in large quantities among the volunteer army. This large caliber assault rifle is just used to deal with various monsters in the wasteland. At present, it seems that the independent regiment is already a very powerful force up. Chen Yuyan planned to start manufacturing power armor in large quantities when the points were more abundant, so that their military strength would be further improved. Just when Chen Yuyan accompanied Ramirez, who was like a dead dog, they ran around the sheltered hills on the 17th lap. Turing, the skillful robot in Jackson's caravan, suddenly came over and said to Chen Yuyan, "Jackson and Sturgis let you go over, they've made progress." "Master Mechanic?" Chen Yuyan stopped immediately, told Ramirez and the others to rest, and followed Turing towards the workshop. Coming to the platform next to the workshop, Chen Yuyan saw the very chatty modified raider robot Ada standing on a temporary platform, and Jackson and Sturgis were busy on it. Seeing Chen Yuyan approaching, Sturgis raised his head and said, "You are here, Boss Yan. Jackson is really a genius in robotics. He has further decoded the beacon you got last time, and now we are install this beacon on Ida. In this way, Ida can receive the signals sent by other beacons. That is to say, we don't have to go around looking for the brain-controlled robots of the Mechanic Master like before, but now we can directly locate their traces?" Chen Yuyan asked. Ada, who was standing on the platform, said, "That's right, after getting more beacons, I will be able to determine the location of the Mechanic Master's highest level signal through calculation." "Okay. Done." Jackson finished installing the last part, closed the cover behind Ada, and said, "Now, Ada, try to receive signals from other beacons." "Understood. Start searching for frequencies, from TM0341 to WM9295, searching, found a signal, started positioning, positioning completed." "Where is it?" Chen Yuyan asked. "The current location of the beacon is inside the General Atomic Energy Plant." Ada replied directly, "I have sent the location to the computer." "No need, I know there." Sturgis's face was a little serious. There are indeed robots often appearing there, and the people around regard it as a restricted area. "It doesn't matter, from today onwards, there is no restricted area." After looking at the map to confirm the location, Chen Yuyan walked over and greeted loudly, "Ramirez. Let the people from the independent group gather. Rest for 2 hours, and then we set off." Ramirez hurried over, "Boss Yan. Are we going to fight side by side this time?" "That's right, let's go. The first battle of our independent regiment," Chen Yuyan said. The General Atomic Energy Plant was far away from the sheltered hills. Chen Yuyan marched all the way in a hurry, and it took less than a day to walk more than 70 kilometers to the periphery of the plant. Without any hesitation, Chen Yuyan took the lead and led the members of the independent group to kill in. Sure enough, there are a large number of robots entrenched in the factory. This is where General Atomic Energy Corporation used to manufacture robots. These robots seem to disassemble usable equipment here. For these robots, Chen Yuyan had no mercy. He and Yi rushed to the front, moving so fast that the clumsy bodies of these robots had no time to aim. Chen Yuyan slammed the trigger, the explosive shotgun in his hand shook, and a large number of projectiles were fired. And now, with his dynamic vision far beyond that of ordinary people, he saw that these projectiles were covered with a layer of explosive energy. Boom! More than a dozen explosions exploded at the same time, and it sounded like there was only one sound. A modified raider robot in front of me was instantly blown to pieces. This kind of robot is only fast, but if they can capture their movements and hit them, their defense is very average. Of course, no matter how ordinary the defense is, it cannot be easily penetrated by ordinary bullets, but this burst shotgun directly blasted the raider robot into pieces, and this power even made Chun Yuyan's eyelids twitch. Yi also moved and fired flexibly with the pulse rifle as always, but Chun Yuyan found that she seemed to be gradually not liking to use guns, preferring to tear opponents to pieces directly through close combat. Under the leadership of the two super masters, Ramirez and the others descended like tigers, howling and rushing up. The Scorpion Eye assault rifle, which uses 9mm caliber full power bullets, has a very good effect even on the armor of the robot. They quickly wiped out all the fish that slipped through the net on both sides of Chun Yuyan, and completely wiped out the anger during training. Unleash it!